In the last video, we learnt about inorganic chemistry. In inorganic chemistry, we dealt with minerals, metals, and various other chemicals that we come across in our daily life. In this video, we learn about organic chemistry. Now, what is organic chemistry? The name organic comes from organism. Organism means living beings. So, organic chemistry deals with molecules that are normally found in living beings. That is how it is called organic chemistry. However, it doesn't always have to be living organisms. If you look in this page, you will see I have listed a few organic compounds. Crude oil and its components. Crude oil, as you know, is the oil that is extracted from the ground, also called mineral oil, and this oil is the source of most of the organic compounds, synthetic organic compounds that we use in our daily life. Cooking gas, which we use for our cooking, that consists of gases like propane and butane. These are some of the heavier gases which are components of crude oil. Natural gas, methane, that is the gas that is used in power plants, and also in some cities they supply natural gas through pipelines for cooking as well. So, crude oil has gases like methane, ethane, propane and butane. We learn a little bit about such compounds in the later slides, but currently just remember that these four, methane, ethane, propane, butane, are very important components of crude oil, and these are in gaseous form. That means they are gas at normal temperature and pressure, and most of them are used as fuels. Although butane and ethane as well, they are sources for some organic compounds which are used in our daily life, and we learn about this when we study polymers. Then it has liquids. Liquids like hexane, octane and other heavier molecules. These are liquids that are components of crude oil. Other heavier compounds like waxes, and then finally you have bitumen compounds. We will later on go and define how to distinguish an organic compound, what does it have, but first let us have a look at the list. Now, wood is obviously a part of a living organism. Wood is the dead plant. Okay, so this is clearly organic compound. Cooking oil that we use, that comes from seeds of plants, also called as vegetable oils. So these are obviously organic compounds because it comes from living organisms. Other living organisms like animals, plants, they all consist of organic compounds. Alcohol, which we use in hand sanitizers. Alcohol is also used as a beverage, ethanol, and there are other alcohols as well. So these are also organic compounds. Acetone, which is used as a nail polish remover, removing various stains from paints, etc., that is also an organic compound. Most of the drugs that are used for treatment of disease, they are also organic compounds. So, looking at this list, and this is a short list, there are actually thousands of important compounds which we deal with in our life, but these are some of the important ones. Looking at this list, you must realize that organic compounds play a very important role in our life, and hence organic chemistry is also very important to study. Now, let us look at formal definitions. In Wikipedia, if you go to Wikipedia and search for organic chemistry, they have defined organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is a branch of chemistry that studies the structure, properties and reactions of organic compounds which contain carbon in covalent bonding. So, I have highlighted in bold the important points in this. So, organic chemistry, as you know, is chemistry of molecules that are normally found in living organisms. And this branch of chemistry studies the structure of such molecules, and I will show you a few examples of why this structure is important, the properties of such compounds, the reactions that they go through, and that's important because reaction is what we can use to convert one molecule to another, and understanding the reaction of such molecules can give us ideas about whether a particular molecule is stable or it is going to disintegrate, or if it is going to form some other chemical, or how we can use one molecule to make another very valuable molecule. Now, these have carbon in covalent bonding. So that's the important point here as far as definition of organic chemistry goes. So this point that it is a covalent bonding, that is very important for defining organic chemistry. You can see in contrast that there could be compounds which contain carbon but which are not considered organic molecules, and I have taken this definition from Britannia.com. So, compounds of carbon are classified as organic when carbon is bound to hydrogen. Okay, so this is an important point here. So one is covalent bonding, other is that normally there is hydrogen present. The carbon compounds such as carbides, like silicon carbide, here is the example here, so silicon carbide, so it is SiC2, silicon carbide, some carbonates like calcium carbonate, okay, and some cyanides, for example sodium cyanide, graphite, carbon dioxide, and we had learnt about carbon dioxide when we studied combustion. So carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. So carbon monoxide is partially oxidized carbon. So when it is fully oxidized, it becomes carbon dioxide, and when it is partially oxidized, it is called carbon monoxide. They are considered as inorganic. Okay. So carbides, carbonates, cyanides, graphite, which is a form of carbon, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, these are all inorganic compounds. First of all, let's remember that carbon has an atomic number of 6, an atomic number of 12, and it has the ability to form covalent bonds. Okay. So carbon, which has 6 electrons, out of those 6 electrons, there are 2 electrons which are deep inside the molecule, and beyond that you have 4 electrons which are present around it. So what happens is that it can form covalent bonds up to 4 bonds. So how does it do that? So let's say we bring hydrogen. So when you bring hydrogen, each of those hydrogen atoms have 1 electron each. So there are 4 electrons that are contributed by the hydrogen atoms, and there are 4 contributed by carbon. So what happens is that at each point, each of these hydrogen can form a bond with carbon by sharing 1 electron from carbon and hydrogen donating another electron. So these 2 electrons are shared, and this is called a bond. So this is what is called as a carbon-hydrogen bond. So we learnt in the previous definition that carbon-hydrogen bond is a very important part of the organic chemistry. So this is the reason why carbon can form organic compounds, and it's a wide variety of elements it can bond with. And there is an interesting thing about the structure. So when you see this compound methane with 4 hydrogens and 1 carbon, what happens is that in the space these hydrogen atoms which are sharing electrons, so these electrons repel each other because they are all negative charges, and in the space they distribute themselves in what is known as a tetrahedral structure. So what you have is, you have the carbon here, the 4 hydrogens are placed all around it in a three-dimensional structure, and this angle is 109.5 degrees. So what you have here is these three hydrogens are in one plane in a triangular formation. Carbon is sitting just above the triangle and the other hydrogen is at the top, and this is also this is called a tetrahedral structure. Okay, so this becomes very important in explaining properties of various hydrogen carbon molecules. So this is the diagram of methane molecule. I have taken from Wikipedia, given you the reference where I found these diagrams. So these diagrams are described in two different ways. This is what I described to you about the tetrahedral structure. So you have these three hydrogens in a triangle. You have carbon right on top, and then you have the hydrogen. If you look at a three-dimensional model, by taking this dark part here is to be the carbon, this is the carbon, and these are the four hydrogens. So you can see a three-dimensional model to understand this. Similarly, you can have also other diagrams. You can see here another compound, or rather a class of compounds, which is ethane, ethylene and acetylene. These have two carbon atoms. So you can see here there is one carbon here, one carbon here. This is ethane, so this has two carbons and 6 hydrogens, so 3 hydrogens each attached to each carbon. This is ethylene. So here you have 2 hydrogens attached to each carbon, and these 2 carbons are connected to each other through 2 bonds. And here you have acetylene, which has got only 1 hydrogen each, and there are 3 bonds. Again, I have taken these pictures from Wikipedia and have given you the references where I found these diagrams. Now, interesting thing you will see is that although both of them have 2 carbons each, the boiling point of each of these are all gases, so their boiling point is negative, is below 0 degrees. So ethane has a boiling point of minus 88.5 degrees Celsius. Ethylene has a boiling point of minus 103.7 degrees Celsius. Now acetylene doesn't have a boiling point. It goes directly from carbon, from solid to gas. So it has a sublimation point which is at minus 80.8 degrees Celsius. So why does that difference exist between all these 3 compounds, although they both have 2 carbons each? The reason is that their shape and their size makes an impact on the boiling point due to the influence on the intermolecular forces. You had learned in physical chemistry, which we did earlier, that these properties of molecules or materials depend on their molecular structure. Here is another example. Here we have taken molecules with 6 carbons. So you see here, this is hexane. It has 6 carbons and it has 3 plus 3 is 6, 8, 10, 12 and 14. So it has 14 hydrogens. And this is benzene. You can see that carbons are connected in a ring-like structure. There are 6 carbons and 6 hydrogens. You can see here that they have drastically different boiling points. While hexane boils at 68.5 degrees Celsius, benzene boils at 80.1 Celsius. So although both of them have the same number of carbons, their properties are vastly different. This is only one property I have shown. There are many other properties which vary as well. Now, not only this, there is also the effect of something called the functional group. So we need not have organic compounds only with hydrogen and carbon. So we can have other components like OH, NH2 or OOH. These all are used make special compounds. For example, the common compound ethanol, which is the alcohol, what we simply call as alcohol. So this has a structure like this: CH3, CH2, OH. Okay, so this is ethanol, okay, ethyl alcohol. Similarly, acetic acid, which is basically vinegar, that has a structure which is CH3, C, double bond O, OH. Okay, so this here or this, these are all called functional groups. So organic compounds will have different properties based on the functional group. So when you have a functional group like this, it is an acid. When you have a functional group like this, it becomes an alcohol. So organic chemistry is very interesting, and it has varied applications because of such vast range of functional groups that can be added to the molecule. So not only do you have change in the number of carbon atoms, we saw examples of 1 carbon, 2 carbon, 6 carbon, and it can go to 10 carbons, 12 carbons, 15 carbons. So you can have large number of carbons. You can have hydrogen, you can have oxygen, you can have nitrogen, and all these things could be attached to the molecule. The molecule shape can be different, and hence the properties will also change. So that's why organic chemistry is very interesting. In the next couple of videos, we'll have a look at two special classes of organic chemistries which are very important to our modern life, namely polymers and biomolecules.